Well, hello, and I'm going to go ahead and go to my first slide. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kimberly Giffen. I'm a Lego artist, wife, and mom of 4, because twins happen. I'm a waterfall enthusiast. I have a book, which is Pacific Northwest Waterfall Lover's Guide to the Northwest, or whatever like that. And I've highlighted for years the waterfalls that I've actually been to. So far in this area, I've probably seen around 40 or more. So in addition to that, I'm playing with Lego. I'm a substitute teacher, Lego STEM instructor. I'm located in the South Puget Sound, vice president of South Puget Sound Lego Group. Also involved in the WBI, Sea Lug, Sort Lug, Goat Lug, and my exciting news for this year is I will be the Master Builder Gallery for 25-26. So, install in like 2.5 weeks. I'm super excited. All right, let's get into it. So, my first one is elements of water. So, one of the easy ones to start with is basic bricks or plates. Just using regular common plates without all the tiling can do amazing things just for the contrast. So this example, which was when I did it for BrickCon a couple years ago, it just has that bright light blue with the green, and it really shows up as water because it has such contrast. So then there's tiling. So tiled surfaces is a common way to display. Your orientation of your tiles can also lead to whether you want to have it as calm water. If you want to have it as, if you have them all in the same direction, it often will signify flowing water. So tiling is another way of getting more things. Slopes. You can do a lot with slopes and getting movement in your water. So using all different slopes that are available to you. This example uses just cheese wedges. But the cheese wedges are on a hinge, and so the plate that the cheese wedges are on is hinged, and it kind of gives you another angle as well to have that flowing water. Curves. Curves are something that just keeps coming out with more curves. My recent favorite has been the baby bows. Those little 1x2 curves are just one of my favorites for not having to go to a solid color for curves, but being able to keep that translucent flow. So if you want something like a gently flowing stream and sloping your water going downward, these are like a key part. So then we get into panels, windshields, dishes, all come in these fantastic trans blue colors. I'm one who's used garage door panels for water because it was one way of creating a surface where you can put things under the water. The trans blue panels are one of my favorite for swimming pools because you can have that feeling that there's depth under the water, and then you can take the minifigure legs off and just put the minifigure body on there, and it looks like they're sitting in the pool. So those are kind of your pieces that are available. And of course, Lego just keeps adding more. So the fun pieces. So we have things like clouds, smokes for spray, power bursts, wave flame parts for making a splash, things that you kind of see in fountains. The clear headlight bricks are one of my favorite pieces, and I am so excited that since this presentation was originally created, there are more clear snot elements to use as far as, it's just going to open doors as far as where we can go with creating these organic shapes using clear pieces. So I also have used headlight bricks for this example here, which is ice on a pond. And so they're just the headlight bricks on their side making a panel. Thinking outside the box. This was one of my favorite examples of water that I've ever seen. And it was done by Tom Studs on Instagram. He used the plastic bag from the set. And fantastic use. I've also seen people use loose bits. They've actually used just fill the vase with 1x1 studs. So loose bits. Another favorite example, I don't have a photo of it, obsolete software. The people who use the CDs from the Lego discs and use them and then they build an island on the middle of it, that is all legit. So whatever you set the model on, I mean, have we not seen huge pirate displays where all they've done is a blue tablecloth? Growing up, I had blue carpet in my room. I had lots of Lego islands because the blue carpet was water. And actual water. I mean, it could be messy. A couple years ago when I was just trying to figure out how to build a Lego koi pond, my husband just suggested you should just use real water and goldfish. I'm like, no. But there have been MOCs with real water, and so it is an option. All right, so moving on, we have elements of depth. How do we make water look deep? How do we make it look like you're diving into it when obviously you're not diving into it? So I have examples. The top corner, again, that's headlight bricks on their side, and then I have a light blue plate underneath. And so it looks kind of like the water's a little ripply. Again, there's the pool example, just panels, bricks on their side. And then the large example is just using different colored plates underneath your water to get the different colors to make it look like it's shallower on the edges, it's deeper in the middle. You can kind of sometimes see the flow. You can see things that are under the water. In this MOC, I had to have pipes under the water, so I had to do something to signify that there was wreckage or things under the water. So one of the things that has been extremely useful in designing with water, and I have this right here if you want to look at it later, is my water palette. So I've taken all of the bricks, all the different colors that I might think about using for underneath the water, and then I did a column of light trans blue, dark trans blue. I should probably edit it to add trans black because I've seen some beautiful examples with trans black, even trans green. But when you put color underneath, it exchanges it from the 9 different shades of blue to the 30 shades of blue. And so you can really have those subtle changes in just changing what color is underneath and figuring out which 2, 3, maybe even 4 colors you want to use underneath your water. So these are some examples. One is the pond from the Silver Pavilion, and it used dark blue, dark gray, and light gray underneath the water to get that effect. Aerith's house used dark blue, dark green, and sand green to get that effect. So the high roll map used dark gray and light gray under the dark trans blue, again, giving a little bit of things. It also used the trans blue slopes to kind of get that motion of waves that I was looking for, and that was a map project. The middle example uses clear brick underneath so that there is the plate layer, but then there's another layer. Not all of the tiles have really secure connections in that grid, but it allowed for us to really make it look like there was rocks and there was fish and there was stuff under the water. Another example that I really liked that I saw at Bricks Cascade a few years ago was from a builder, a dark Samish gray, and he did this around the base of his tower from his bathhouse from Spirited Away. And again, it's just using thick bricks around the base, but it really adds that depth to it. So those are my tricks for adding depth. Moving on, we have movement. As the name suggests, doing waterfalls. Waterfalls have been one of my favorite things to build, and there are so many different techniques. So the first one, it uses slopes and plates and snot and different things to kind of get that illusion of having a lot of spray. The up and downward direction of the waterfall is really just 1x2 plates, because Lego does not offer any 1x4 clear plates, which would be nice. But to get that vertical movement. The cheese slopes. Cheese slopes can also be applied. They don't have to be applied up and down. Like if you take a plate and you turn it vertically, you can put cheese slopes on the plate and change the orientation. Again, that gives you the slope of the plate is giving you that motion of things are going downward. And then my last one again is my favorite is the headlight waterfall. Again, that combination of those clear bricks gives you that kind of noise in the water. Movement in the waterfalls. So the top example is using flex tubes. So the headlight bricks, slide those onto flex tubing, and then put cheese slopes on top of that, and then kind of do some layers. You can kind of get curves in your waterfall. This one's only too high, but you could do higher. And it was a super fun technique to actually come up with. The lower example is just using cheese slopes for small cascades. Again, you're getting that flow, and if you can add elevation changes to your model, that is fabulous. I always say, one of the things I always actually start with is the water, because the flow of the water is actually going to set. The water is always going to flow to the lowest point, and so you always have the water, and then you always have the plants and rocks overlapping the water, and you're always going to have that build up to how the water is flowing through the MOC. And then this example here uses the trans blue baby bows. So it uses the bows to create that waterfall. Again, it uses window panels in the water stream so that we could have fish and plants and things underneath. So I borrowed this. So this is another fun way to get movement, is actually doing a moving waterfall. So kind of the idea of, and many of you may have seen a waterfall where you use conveyor tracks or tank treads. And there's a technique with the tank treads to putting plates on like every other one of them, and then putting the 1x2 tiles off-centered. And you can YouTube that to see how it's done. But having that actual movement is really cool. Another fun example, this is by Liz, I have a problem pronouncing it, Piola. Anyway, another fun option was just to have something underneath your water panel. So this is a mechanism that rotates, and it creates waves underneath. You can see that she has a mat, kind of like a certain shirt that we see out there. So the idea of using the netting techniques to create a flexible thing. I've seen examples where people have taken the netting and put it on a system where it pulls it so it comes in and off of a shore to make waves. This was another example that I found, and it was just beautiful. And it uses color. It uses the white, it uses blue, it uses clear, it uses white for the white caps. It has very good part usage. I think there's some croissants thrown in there for wave camps. And so this is the beautiful thing about water, is you can think outside the box. You can really look at the pieces and say, does this minifigure hat look like a wave cap? It may not. I mean, does it look like something? My model that I brought that kind of fell apart is this one. And it's using the classic staggering of the 1x1 cylinders with 1x2 bricks to make a piece that's actually curved so you can have that waveform. It did not hold together very well in transit. This was another example of a curve that I made for a bridge over my river, and it was really fun because it used 1x2 plates, the 1x2 rounded plates, and now they have 1x3 and 1x4, really allow for you to curve. Now, if you combine those with throwing in some brackets here and there, now you can cover that curve with slats. So I don't know where my surfer went, but I will put this down for people to play with. So this is fun. And this is basically placing all of your water plates on cam wheels. Again, getting motion in water, there are so many ways to do it. Another fun way I've seen is people who don't move the water, they move the boat. So that the water waves are stationary, but the boat is going back and forth to make it look like everything is moving. All right, so that's what I have for some movement. My next one, we're moving on to adding life to your water. All right, so again, Lego gives us lots of fun parts. They keep giving us more parts. Koi tile, love the koi tile. Lobsters, fish, ducks, water lilies, the corals, the starfish. Again, these are elements that can be added either like on top of the water, but also underneath. So when you can build water using panels instead of tiling, it gives you that option to add life that might not be expected to be seen. This was a favorite one. This is one I added for this presentation. I just finished this mock this summer. Again, it's using solid bricks on their side as water. Doing this, it allows you just to set the plants on top. It allows you to use color to signify that, this pond is covered with milfoil. You can use the greens, you can use blacks. It gives you a whole range of options. The beautiful thing with having a flat panel like this is it's also reflective. So if you have a dark blue or a dark black lake, you might be able to get a good photograph where the reflection of your mock is actually in the water, which it can be done to amazing effect. This was one of my favorite builds. It was here a couple years ago. I'm sure a lot of you remember it. But adding the fish underneath, it was subtle movement. So subtle movement was really fun to do. Again, this is garage doors. That is why that there is a bridge in between them, because I needed connection points. And so when doing the koi pond, I either had to have a bridge or a cascade or something to connect those panels, because you were limited by the 8-stud width of how wide your garage doors were. But it was fun. I have another example by using elements of light. So this is fun. This is an example by Josh Parkinson's, who's here around the convention somewhere today. And he has this beautiful example where he has light effects underneath the water. And we want to see how this is accomplished. I got photos from him. All right. Okay, so he has different layers. And you can see the bottom layer has a lot of our light diodes and placement, and then spacer pieces. You have a layer buildup, aqua plates for undertone, layers of clear plate, layers of trans light blue tile, and then landscape built up over the overlap over the tile. And it was just a beautiful example. So elements of light. So the headlight waterfall, I have 2 photos of it. One is with it behind a window, and one of it is it just on its own. So you can see that when it's behind a light source, it really feels more like water. I actually put lights in the Silver Pavilion. I never turned them on because it looked a little too Millennium Falcon, like, okay, we're just blasting off. So you also need to be careful that your lights are actually giving the effect that you want, and you didn't just throw them in to throw them in. And so I threw them in. They were a pain to ever take out, so I didn't leave them in. The other light source is from a bunker build that I did a few years ago. And again, it's just a nice way to have some bit of highlight to your water feature. So again, this is one of my newer models. And this was, I'm sure that you guys have walked by the light brick stuff and seen the neon tubes that are flexible. And so this one uses the neon tubes behind the waterfall so that they could kind of be bent a little bit, so having streams of light. Well, what the effect was with this is it also reflected off of the stream. So you have this nice look like the stream is glowing. Stream is not glowing. The stream has no lights whatsoever. If the lights are turned off, the waterfall is just clear. But again, if you get that backlit from it, it makes everything just kind of glow, and it looks good either way, but definitely made for some pretty pictures by adding light to just give a little bit of oomph to your waterfall. Here's another fun examples. So Pool Party Bunker had pool lights. They're just little LEDs set into the tech bricks so that they look like you have little round lights underneath your pool. So pools are a great place, a public pool is a great place to add lights to your water. Makes it fun. The bottom example is one that came in a light kit that I was trying out, and it just uses blue LEDs to give that glow. Again, it was one of those things where, at the end I took them out because I was like, I don't think my Viking village needs lights. But it's another way to do it. Instead of lighting the water from underneath, you're just adding that tone from above. Putting it all together. You have to have a plan. How does your water flow? What is the lowest point of your MOC? How does the water get into your model? Does it start at the back? Does it come from a spring? Does it flow out of a fountain? Is it only a fountain? Will you have enough parts for the amount of water that you want to put in there? Or will you be like, okay. Lighting and motion are something that you need to think about in the start. If you're going to use the technique of adding LEDs under the water, then they kind of need to be put under the water as you go. And then a lot of landscape is the buildup. We're going, and this is where, you might have to swap some of those clear tiles that you had on your water for plates. That way you can have a kind of a clear connection to the water surface. Adding a plate here and there can make your there's things to make your collection of blue tiles stretch further. Rocks are a good thing to make your tiles stretch further. Islands are a good thing to make your tiles stretch further. But also just adding plant life along the edges. So adding those clear or trans blue plate instead of tiles so that you can go back and you can add rocks and plant works and lilies and whatever onto them. Moving on to landscape, you want to think about your edges. Are the edges sandy? Are they rocky? Are they swampy? Is it grassy? Is it steep terrain or is it gradual? You're going to have a more rigid edge if your water ends with a cliff and a steep slope that's overlapping the water. The details, what's growing here? Who lives here? What are we going to be putting in the water? Does anybody live there? Is it a desert pool, or is it going to be swarming with life? Which, for many things, water is a source of life. Adding the depth, adding movements, building up to add elevation and flow. Those are the key points to having a mock that has water, that has movement and has character. Some more resources. There is a Brick Built Water, a free Lego ebook that I saw on the Brothers Brick. I took a quick look at it. It's a really good source of just parts and things that you can use. What can we learn from Lego sets? The Builder app has instructions for so many different techniques. This photo comes from my Rivendell set. Rivendell was the set that made me realize that, yes, I needed to use dark turquoise underneath the water as an underneath color because it is absolutely stunning. Image searches, like what are you saving? Pinterest posts can be saving. Instagram can be a good way to loop back and think about, okay, now I saw an idea for water and I want to try it. You are welcome to also look at my own personal ventures. KGiffen Creates is my Instagram. All right, go with some final thoughts. How it started. So I have an early model of a waterfall with a water wheel, and I did not have the parts. I did not have the colors. And I was building with my kids, and I was trying techniques. And that's okay. I tell people all the time, I spent a decade building with my kids and never showing anything to anybody. And it was fun. But this is how you learn. You learn by doing, you learn by trying things out. You see a technique and you're like, I need to try that out. You like it? Okay, you use it. You don't like it? You try another technique. So it started. 9 to 10 years later, you can see I have a much larger collection. Although I did spend hours scrounging the used Lego stores for 1x2 clear plate because I didn't have time to order any. Do we get it right the first time? Most likely, no. Most likely we, as kids, plopped down a couple blue bricks in a line and called that a river. Practice and part availability are both things that will be needed. I mean, you don't have the parts, you either obtain them or you find a style that uses what you have. And that is all. Do I have any questions? So he asked how do you avoid the Minecraft aesthetic of having it be very boxy and square? So yes, I use a lot of wedges where I'll use a 1x4 wedge going in one color and a 1x4 wedge going in the other color, and they connect to make that diagonal line. So when possible, I add those when I have the pieces, I add the diagonal into that. So if it's a shape with diagonals, it helps to get rid of that boxy look. Yes?
I just want to say thank you for using the clear and the white moving water technique.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, I think any color can be used. If you were here last year, I had a purple river because I mean it was an alien planet. So yes, like it doesn't matter. And I mean most of these concepts can be very well adapted for lava. I mean, it's a moving viscous surface. Green for slime, like lime green for things that are dripping. Like the sky's the limit.
Moving water rarely is blue.
Yes. Well, and sometimes I find with the moving water is a lot of the waterfalls, like this one is white, but it does use the trans blue 1x2s here and there. I've also done them where it uses trans black here and there, and it just gives that little bit of thing. Another trick on those big waterfalls is built into them is snot bricks. Snot bricks allow me to connect a rock or a rock structure into the middle of the waterfall, and then throwing some headlight bricks in there. Now I can have things splashing around the rock. So yeah, you just think about things, and you also can think about what you see in nature. And like I said, I've been to a lot of waterfalls and kind of have this idea of what I think they should look at like, and what I think is a cool waterfall. Yeah. Did we have any virtual ones? Not yet? I will also have these examples up here if you guys want to come up afterwards and play with them. Again, I don't know where Surfer Girl went, but I have kids, so we'll go with that. But this was fun to make, and if you haven't played around with having any sort of like moving parts and using Technic in your MOCs, it is really fun to start adding, just playing with how they function and how they work. And then this is again a favorite thing. You can also add other tiles that you might have in your collection. I made this one before the iridescent light blue came out, which was used as water in the Kingfisher set. And I used as solar panels. So there's also that bluish, purplish thing. I mean, you can look at just about any element and go, okay, if it's a clear element, how does it react over other colors? Yeah. I sorry if I went a little faster there. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. So my favorite blue to use really is the dark turquoise with the light blue over it. And if you pair that with the classic green, so you have turquoise and green. One of my newer MOCs uses turquoise and green and dark green. And so they're just, the bright colors get a little bit muted, but they still show up as bright colors. And if you have a lot of gray, you kind of want your water to stand out a little bit, because we live in the Pacific Northwest. If you go hiking, I have so many photos of, looking down at a creek and being able to see the creek that sees all of the rocks in the creek, and you can see the depth of the creek, and it looks like you don't know if that water is 5 feet deep or if it's 15 feet deep, but it's just has all those colors of turquoise. So I do like the turquoise the best. So. You have a question? Anyone? No? All right. And I mean, this is like a thing. You get passionate about something, you try it, you see where it goes, and landscape has somehow become my passion as far as being able to things. One of the things touching on landscape that I have found is, in general, is that there's a progression from, building plants and building trees that are very, hook the limbs on very flat, to tree limbs that are curved, and tree limbs that, even if they're curved up and flat, putting limbs on hinges, thinking about the angle things are going to fall, the the spaceship holes, those round wedges, the wedge bricks that are curved that you see to get those nice curves in your Star Wars ships, are the most fantastic rocks. They're the most, and thinking about direction. And, most people figure that they stack things. We don't have to stack things. We can build a panel that's facing us, and now you have built your rock cliff like a mosaic. You're building outward instead of up and down. So changing the direction of how you're building can also be a really cool key to getting landscapes that are different and unique and draw a person in. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I'm happy to come talk to people, and I'm happy to talk to people the whole rest of the convention. Again, you love what you're passionate about. You're welcome.